Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I am going to be reviewing a viewer recommended series, or at least volume 1 in a viewer recommended series that I was suggested, or that was suggested to me on another video on my channel. So I want to thank that person for their suggestion and let's dive into the book. So the book that was suggested was this series, and I really hope I am saying this correctly. Very sorry if I'm not, and that is Kaguya-sama, Love is War. So this is what the front of the book looks like. This is volume 1. It has this woman on the front, this red border, and this was classified in the library as a teen book. So as you can tell, it's a manga series, and let's talk about my thoughts. This was suggested to me and I hadn't heard of this series before on the channel, so I looked into it, just wanted a premise or volume 1. I didn't want any spoilers, and the premise of this series is that there is an elite high school. This is where the top of the top go, the elite. These are the future leaders of Japan, of industry, and it is an exclusive high school. And the elite of these elite students at this high school is the student council president and vice president. These are Miyuki Shirogane, he is the president, and vice president Kaguya Shinomiya. These are the very top of the school, best of the best. They are together, they are doing their student council work, and they are the absolute pinnacle of this school. However, there is a little problem, and it is these two people have feelings for each other. However, because they are not normal people, or maybe because they're also teenagers and these sort of things maybe are embarrassing when you're a teenager, they do not want to admit to one another that they have feelings for one another. So now it has become a game, and the person who confesses first loses. Of course, they have not talked to each other about this, but as the reader, we have the omniscient view into their thoughts. They believe that confessing first means they're going to lose. So now they're in this battle of wits where they're both trying to make the other person confess that they have feelings for each other. When I first read this little summary, this little blurb online, I was like, okay, that could be interesting. Not really sure how I feel about it. I am a little bit more, so in actual books, I don't know what else to call it, like textbooks, not manga is what I'm trying to say. Romance doesn't really do it for me. In manga, I am a little bit more lenient. I do like a little bit more romance in my manga for whatever reason. So it wasn't that really, I don't want to say turned me off, but it was a little apprehensive. I guess I just didn't see how it was going to be funny. I was like, this could be interesting. There could be a few weird situations, but I wasn't really sure where it was going to go or how it was going to play out. But someone recommended it, and I like to get recommendations. I like to give them a read, and I have been surprised many times before, of course, by recommendations. So I think it's only fair to give something a fair shot. I went to the library and I actually got volumes 1 and 2 because in manga series, I actually find that usually the first volume is kind of a weak entry in the series. The author is trying to get the series off the ground, the characters introduced, and the plot rolling in only like 200 pages, which can be a very big ask. And so I feel like they tend to be rushed, they feel a little stilted, and really you need a couple volumes to get into it. So I brought volume 1 home, I gave it a read, and I was very pleasantly surprised. In fact, I was laughing out loud in volume 1. And as I mentioned, I usually find the first volume a little weak in a manga series, so I never really fault it for it, and I try to read the first couple entries in a manga series, but this one was great right off the bat. There was a humorous element between these two people who were trying to get the other person to confess that was very enjoyable to read, and there's all these situations that you just couldn't help laughing at because it just feels a little absurd, but it was done in a very comical way. There's also this third party named Chika. Chika's not really a third party in that she's also going for the main man. She's not like another person mixed up in a love triangle, but so for those of you who are familiar with the series Komi Can't Communicate, I have read through volume 19 of Komi, and I'm loving that. That was a recommendation from my sister. So for those familiar with that series, Chika, at this point, volume 1, feels like the same role that Najimi plays in Komi Can't Communicate. Just this third party who's not really interested, at least romantically, in either of the two people who are romantically interested in each other, but is also a little clueless. Najimi's a little less clueless in Komi, so Chika just kind of makes the situation a little worse, but in a chaotic way where she never intends to. And it just kind of creates a lot of tension, but funny tension. I was really pleasantly surprised by how funny this series was and how good it was right off the bat. I would rate this 4 stars, volume 1 4 stars, and to rate a manga, volume 1 in a manga series 4 stars for me is very unusual, so I thought that was a very, very good sign. I'm very glad this book was recommended to me, and if you have not read this series, I would recommend picking it up and giving it a read. If you're apprehensive because maybe it doesn't feel like it's going to be funny, I had the same apprehensions going in, and I thought it was very funny, and I was laughing out loud while reading this book. So volume 1 of this Kaguya-sama Love is War is definitely worth the read. I'm glad someone recommended it to me because I'm not sure I would have picked it up without the recommendation. I feel like maybe this series needs a little bit more of a branding. Maybe the branding's off or the series are off, but again, this is something that, at least for me, doesn't pop off the shelf as something that I'm going to grab without outside influence. So I'm really, really grateful for the person who recommended this. Because of that outside influence, I picked this up and I'm loving this series, at least loving volume 1, excited to read the rest of the series and see where that goes. And this is a great recommendation. So now I'm passing the recommendation on to all of you. Anyone else out there who hasn't read this series yet, give it a read. I highly recommend. Please let me know what you thought of volume 1 in the comments below, or if you have any other manga series recommendations. I really do try to get to them all. Sometimes I have to order them from other libraries, and that adds a little bit of lead time to my reading of your recommendations, but I do love getting your recommendations, so leave them down below. I will try to get to them. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.